Hi there, welcome to the latest news and discussions within the Noah Presgrove case. Today I'm catching up with the Justin Roy interview which occurred I think 7 days ago now with Partners in True Crime over on the YouTube channel. I'm aware most of you may have already seen it. What I'm doing today is giving a summary analysis from what I know of up to now, comparing and contrasting certain points, and also highlighting key points mentioned by Justin which may have not been picked up by other people or may have been brushed aside or even forgotten about. And it is later on into the interview where the really critical points are mentioned. So whilst I go through this summary analysis of key bullet points and comments made, information passed on, make sure to stick around and listen on in, okay? I'm aware that the Caden Pressy one has just come about as of yesterday. A range of people have seen it, commented as well on my channel. I'll get to that eventually, probably after making this video. So I'm up to date. I do have a backlog of video ideas to do. Whether some are answered through some of these interviews or not, I guess I'll find out. If not, I can always do the videos separately. As for the length of them, I guess it depends, but I just wanted to give you a heads up there. Welcome to anyone that is watching this live premiere. Feel free to share your thoughts, opinions, reactions in the live chat box, right-hand side of the screen. If you want to catch up on my recent videos, earlier ones, where you see the eye symbol, top right corner of the screen, click on that. You'll be able to find those videos, catch up there, and as well the playlist that I've done, because recently been quite busy, videos back to back to back. Might be hard for everyone to catch up. And as a heads up, when it comes to YouTube, supposedly you can only upload 3 videos a day, because if you upload any more than 3 videos, YouTube won't notify people that are subscribed to my channel. So every now and then, it's always worth you checking in on my channel, even if there are not notifications, because there is a fair chance that I probably already have new videos up regardless. As I said, YouTube isn't always trustworthy. It is what it is. Now, throughout this video, if you do want to elaborate on any points or give your afterthoughts and questions towards the end of this video, make sure to do so down below under this video in the comment section. You'll also find a pinned comment by me with some additional links if you want to support this channel. As of like last night and recently, big shout out to Sunny and of course Skeptical for supporting the channel with the super chats. Very good of them. Positive to see the momentum, and just in general the momentum going forwards on the right path. The signs are showing. It's time to lock on in once again. So I'll just give you my rough quick introduction thoughts to the interview itself. Whether people want to call it a podcast or not, I don't really like that word. I just refer to it as an interview, but more so a semi-formal interview. It's not like a strict setting. It's in the comfort of your own home over like a kind of like a Zoom call or StreamYard, whichever service that's been used to talk between one another and ask questions and answer. When it tends to be a semi-formal interview, people can be more relaxed. There's a better rapport between one another. Atmosphere is better, more focus, more information that comes out, open-ended questions, patience from the YouTube channel as well, which allowed Justin Roy to explain himself, what he knows, what's gone on in the background. I would say it was conducted well. As for Justin Roy himself, it's a bit of a random observation, but he's got massive forearms and biceps. I don't know what he does to get big muscular arms, but irrelevant in a way, but all good. So as for Justin, when he was talking, pretty clear when speaking, easy to understand. I even had it on ×2 speed because, you know, it was like an hour long, but ×2 speed, I was able to listen clearly, hear it fine, well spoken, answered the questions, the right questions were asked from the YouTube channel, and, you know, being able to elaborate on certain points. I know people were saying how when Justin Roy did his interview, he was cut off by the YouTube channel. He had so much more to give, but they cut it off abruptly. Well, after watching it myself, it didn't come across that way. I mean, Justin was kind of getting on about certain points which he can't get into depth at this moment in time, but maybe in the future. And then there's some other areas to talk about, but maybe not yet from his point of view, but allow other people to speak themselves instead of on behalf of them. And, you know, the YouTube channel said, yeah, we get that. And as well, certain stuff needs to be validated or looked into before we start doing certain things or talking about stuff so it doesn't harm the case. Seems pretty reasonable and understandable. No issues there. So yeah, that's how it seemed to go. As for Caden Pressey, is that like an hour long, but part one, and then there's a part two coming up? Well, if part one was already hard hitting for people, what do you think part two will be like? And you can guess, you can give your predictions down below. When I do that analysis summary, as soon as I can, I will label it part one, part two, if necessary, because if the other one hasn't come out yet, might as well make it clear to identify which one is which, so then people can follow in the correct order. But as for this current interview with Justin Roy, it's one of the first ones. There might be more in the future, but right now we're just going to call it interview, analysis, summary, whatever. I'll think of a name. So to start off with a few bullet points, Justin Roy briefly introduced himself, one of the admins on the Facebook page. Wasn't the one to set it up, but became a part of an admin early on. But Justin, his son, wrestled and played football with Noah in the past. And when we're saying football, just so no one's confused, American football. If we're thinking of football as in the UK, European football, that would be considered soccer in American standards in terms of how they word things. But we're not talking about soccer, we're talking about American football, which is a little bit like rugby as in the UK, just so no one's confused. As for Noah Presgrove, we've seen him, I believe he did football as well, if I'm correct in saying, with his jersey, his, the clothing, his attire. Also did wrestling as well, hence why the two met one another in the past. And it was just giving the story behind that Justin's son, that Noah looked out for him, Noah trained with him, so it was all positive, getting on well, and obviously with the kids meeting one another, Justin was introduced to Noah as well, vice versa, and got on well, and also mentioned about meetups in the past, meeting up at hotels and hanging out and things. So you can tell there was a level of closeness that Justin knew what Noah was all about, what he was like, his atmosphere, his presence. And once again, it's important that when you do get a case and people that do speak on behalf of, such as the victim that has been impacted, it's from someone firsthand that's seen it or just been around that person at some point, just makes it more realistic and you can lock in more and understand it, rather than just a person saying that they know someone but they don't really. But Justin Roy does in real life. In terms of location, Justin, son, family, I think Red River, opposite side of Waurika, whatever. They were further away, 27 to 30 miles away, camping at the time of when this party was going on and the time of Noah's death. Said they were away from the place, so they didn't see or hear anything until after. I guess we'll get to that later. Justin mentioned that Noah was a bit of a jokester, but he was also very loved. He was athletic, he was strong, kind of like an all-rounder in a way. So it can make sense as to why he could be seen as popular and why people liked him, including females too. But whilst some of these points are mentioned, descriptions based off what Justin knows about Noah, there can be a bit more depth behind it as to, do any of these characteristics, traits, or descriptions carry on over to the party at the time? So the description of Noah being a bit of a jokester, nothing wrong with that, but is there a small possibility that when Noah was at the party, did he joke around a bit too much or with the wrong person? Did it backfire? With Texas boys coming along, another uninvited guest that were just brought along with the friends that were invited and tagged along, basically, Noah may have been a stranger to some of the people at the party, possibly. So those that don't know who Noah is or what he can be like, if Noah was to be a jokester at that point, could people get the wrong end of the stick and retaliate back through a misunderstanding? I mean, come on, when it comes to online drama and conflict, a simple misunderstanding can lead to a full-on blown-out war. So just imagine what it could be like face-to-face in real life. It's always worth acknowledging, right? You can be the jokester, nothing wrong with that, but around the wrong people or without context, it can go wrong. Now, to be the jokester, could that also mean being on the receiving end of stuff? In terms of how you're treated in a serious way or not, sometimes if you joke around too much, people won't take you serious enough, but that can be its own thing. In terms of how we saw Noah Presgrove at the party getting slapped about and also drawn on, that's really the only point of view what we saw. We didn't see anyone else get slapped or really drawn on, so there's a bit of context possibly lacking, which is a shame, but also a bit questionable. But nevertheless, as Justin say, Noah was very loved. Now, that's the other interesting point. If Noah was really loved, then those that loved him, such as the ones at the party, would have done a better job at preserving any and every bit of potential evidence and not pushing people back online or when questions are asked, and no threatening behaviour or language at all. If you truly care or love something or someone, you will do as much as you can to make it work, to preserve, to keep something safe. And yet that hasn't been the case, has it? You will have the few exceptions of individuals within the case or somehow that have tried their best and have been honest and consistent, and like how some people out there, well, quite a few people out there say, Caden Pressey. And then you could even say Justin Roy as well, although not at the party, a person that's been around Noah in the past and has had like family at the party as well, and we'll get into that later, so passing on information that way and learning about it. So key individuals, Justin Roy, key individual. Justin Roy was the one that welcomed me into the Noah Presgrove's Army Facebook page at the time of when it went private, so that was obviously good to see there. Justin Roy was the one that kind of like, not advised, but suggested that I probably should look at the golf clubs, and that's what I did with time, so it's all good there, no issues. But yeah, if Noah was very loved, how he ended up after the party, obviously not loved enough. I mean, is there a term where if you're loved too much, loved to death, literally? That could be like an extreme outcome there, but may not exactly be common. What I'm saying is when something is loved, someone is loved, they're not going to be attacked, they're not going to be hurt. It's going to be the complete opposite, right? Yet, look at what happened with Noah and the brutality behind it. So if we're talking about Noah being loved, people in the past talking about a crime of passion, does it link hand in hand or something? What else could it be? Girl trouble, girl situation. If I can't have you, then no one else can, so I'm going to take you to the grave. I don't know. It may not be relevant, that line, but I've heard it before in other situations and cases, and maybe even in films as well. And sometimes it can translate to real life as well, let's be honest. So that's only 2 points in, but as I said, certain depths behind the points mentioned, certain characteristics, descriptions given, which can apply to the party if it's based off Noah's personality and how he was at the time, right? So the next point mentioned, to do with all over social media when it came to the death, the announcement. So we're talking about back then. So I don't know why I've written it like that, September 2023. It's in terms of when Justin was camping far away with family, with his son, obviously the son finding out first via social media, letting Justin, the father, know about what's happened, in tears, obviously upset, and then other people got upset as well. But hearing about it over social media, is that a bad thing? I guess it depends in a way, because if you're not near to the place, well, you have to find out somewhere, and digitally, that's where it tends to be, unless people are thinking, why did we find out last? Why did we find out on social media? Why did no one text us? Why did no one message me? But it depends, people at the party, how well do they know Justin Roy's son. But then again, what about Noah Presgrove? Did Dalen not, or it depends how long it took Dalen to find out about the news himself. But nevertheless, social media, because the way it is nowadays, the way news spreads much quicker nowadays as well, whether it be the truth or misinformation, as we've seen. But yeah, the death. So there was high levels of activity early on. And then with time, I guess it continued, right? Because from then till now, still being talked about. There are posts, Facebook groups, pages, the odd sub ones being set up. So obviously the case is still active after all this time because of the mysteries, unanswered questions here and there. So, okay, next one. Right, so in terms of how they found out social media, what was the first story, first narrative Justin Roy said? They were told it was a hit and run, and Justin made it clear in his interview that he didn't believe it was a hit and run, pretty confident it wasn't, based off how it appeared, based off someone who he knew of in the past that was involved in some kind of hit and run, and it was a bit more brutal, there was a bit more blood, and how the body fell on the ground and the distance as well when hit and then where it landed looked more like placed on the side, placed on the ground, as what Justin said in the interview. I get that all makes sense, right? The interesting thing though, more characteristics given by the point of view of Justin, saying that Noah is kind of a survivor and very knowledgeable. I mean, you can't contest that, you know, if you've been around that person and that's what you see within them, fair enough. But being realistic, it doesn't matter how strong, how athletic you are, it doesn't matter how tall you are, it doesn't matter how knowledgeable you are. At the end of the day, if you are drunk, you're not going to be quite there with it, are you? Your reaction timing will be slowed down, your thought processing will be somewhat impaired. Your vision, I don't know too much about that, whether it be blurry vision or not. Dizzy, disorientated, I guess it depends how much alcohol you've had. I mean, this is not to be negative, okay? This is just basing it off supposed events that happened. If a person was very knowledgeable and smart, intelligent, mature, they would probably think, maybe it's not best to be drinking, especially when I'm underage. Now, obviously, people aren't going to be thinking like that for the most part of it. Most people aren't going to be like that because they'll be of a young age, want to have fun, want to party. Everybody else is, so why can't I? Fair enough, okay? I'm not criticising Noah. I was just like being very realistic, maybe too realistic. Hopefully you get what I'm saying. And in terms of being supposedly involved in some kind of ATV incident where it flips over, sounds a little bit reckless, drunk driving, but I guess as long as it's not on a main road or highway, not much harm done to any of the general public out there because you're away from it. But still, a little bit reckless, bit silly. And the fact that, well, not the fact, but based off the order of events, supposedly being guided to the shower, may have been hand washed as well. It kind of implies that he was in no fit state to be even walking or even walking back home, in which he was found along the side of the highway. So in somewhat of a vulnerable, compromising situation. So even if he can be a survivor and he's strong, dogged nature, determined, healthy, when there's certain substances or a presence within your system, in your blood, you've been drinking, it can make you weaker, it can make you a little bit more vulnerable, and if you're not quite there with it, well then you won't react and respond the same way as if you were sober, for example. Or in other situations with people out there who could be taking drugs, right, in other cases. All the other times they might be strong, they might be focused, but then the moment they're on something, they're a different person. So it's always worth taking that into mind. But I think what Justin was trying to get at is, with Noah being knowledgeable and a survivor, he wouldn't be walking down the highway to end up getting hit. Even though it wasn't a hit and run, he just wouldn't be doing that type of thing. But, as I've said, you could call it a counterpoint maybe. It depends how desperate Noah was at the time. If he wanted to leave the party house and the property, or he needed to leave the party house and property. That's the key question, right? And especially with offers being turned down, he wanted a lift back because it's the only way he could really get back. He didn't have his own vehicle with him Sunday and even Monday because he got a lift down. Nobody decided to drive him back home. Now, that bit didn't seem to get mentioned within the interview of Justin Roy's one, but maybe Caden Pressey did make reference to it. I've not seen it. Bear with me. I'll get to it eventually. Okay? But, you know, desperate times, desperate measures, drunk as well, not quite clear decision making, wanting to leave, not really having the key opportunities to do so, it's having to take matters into your own hand, getting so far, and then something happening. Am I saying that Noah walked down the highway and then someone came after him? No. I still think that he was attempting to leave the property, but before he made it directly to the highway, something happened to him, and then possibly moved on afterwards. You won't always see me giving my ultimatums, conclusions, because there is a lot of depth to this story, and there are still some grey areas and things I need to touch upon. When I do get to a point where I get more of a full understanding, I probably could give more conclusions, more predictions as to what truly happened. But of course, if stories switch and change with time in the background and with those within the case, you don't want to go all in, because you might have created a timeline and think, oh, that's good, it's all clear now. And then it's turned upside down because new information or evidence has come on out, or that geofence thing, if that's ever released. So a little bit of patience. The Dylan Rounds case taught me there needs to be a level of patience, because you think you might know it or you got an idea, and then suddenly things change. There's a twist around the corner. And I guess there's been quite a few in this case earlier on, and I've come in, you know, arguably late, but still catching on up, slowly getting there. So Noah, seen as a survivor, knowledgeable, but one against many. Even that can be a great task, depending on the situation. If it was an ambush, a blind, cheap shot, Noah wouldn't have stood a chance. It would have been unfair. Him against people with possible weapons and items, such as a beatdown, unfair. There's only so much you can do as a human, right? No matter how muscular, big you are, or athletic, if it's one against many, it's going to be difficult. It shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't even happen in the first place, but there's chances are that it could have. As for the exact location, that's not been revealed. But we can guess, we can have ideas, can't we? So, next point mentioned, and this is one which I didn't highlight immediately, but this is one of the first critical key points, okay? And, you know, we might hear certain things by different people, those maybe from the party, those who aren't from the party, but heard it from those who attended, and then it was passed on, so like Justin Roy and some of his family members, or family of family, right? And then some others. But if similar stories come out, or the same exact ones, that's a positive. While some people may say, oh, we've heard this before, this is kind of old news. If it's told by a different person individually, that's a good sign of consistency. Consistency is needed in cases. Consistent stories, consistent memories and recollections of events, consistent behaviour. We've seen it in a way with Caden Pressey, up to a certain point at least. I'll find out when I look into that interview if it continues the consistency in retelling stuff in one's account, but it's been consistent up to now. Justin Roy seems like a consistent individual as well, right? So if you see an overlap of consistencies, take that as a positive sign, even when it comes to supposed old news, right? And this is one of the first critical points. The talk about Noah and Jack having a falling out, an argument. Now, Justin made reference to the Saturday falling out later on in the interview, but it wasn't really acknowledged deep enough because it's not exactly 100% confirmed there. But if it's happened on the Monday morning, for example, it could have happened a few days before. Personally, it wouldn't have surprised me at least. But yeah, the argument between Noah and Jack, but we saw in a text message, or at least I've seen it, maybe you have individually on one of the Facebook posts, one of those reposts of a text conversation between Jack and whoever asking questions. And Jack was saying how, yeah, we had a falling out, we had an argument, but we did hug each other and even cry in each other's arms. And I'm thinking, Is this some kind of the Titanic scene, unreleased footage or something? But that's from Jack's perspective. Unfortunately, we don't have it from Noah's perspective of how things went, whether it was resolved or not. At least from the Saturday situation of a supposed falling out, girl trouble girl situation supposedly, Noah getting away from that drama and conflict, going back to his place of living because he could. He had his own vehicle. Then Sunday, because he got back early Sunday morning, as Justin said in the interview, when making it back home. Then later on, getting the call from Jack to come on back, right? But was driven down by a group of guys. So Noah was in a bit more of a dependable situation where he depended on others to get from point A to point B, there and back, right? Was that planned? I don't know. We could always look into that as a separate theory. But supposedly, you could argue a false sense of security, Jack calling Noah, hey, come back, let's make up and just get on with the party and have fun. You think all's been forgiven, whatever it was, a misunderstanding or more. And then fast forward to 3 in the morning onwards, roughly, argument breaks out between Noah and Jack. And that's, I guess, the final straw, which forces Noah to leave once again. If he left mainly through an argument on the Saturday, well, the same could have repeated again on Monday, and that it wasn't patched up. It may have been made out to be at first, but there was still some kind of tension in the background, mainly from Jack. But for Jack to downplay it in those text messages saying, oh, no, it was okay, it wasn't that bad. Yeah, downplaying it. Why? Because it makes you look suspicious? I wonder, because at least from what Justin Roy said in that interview, he said, from what I've heard, it was very, very aggressive and even led to some touching and pushing. Oh, getting physical. Physical before Noah's death. That's not a good look, is it? Laying hands on somebody. Now, you could be excused and say, well, does it really matter? They were at the party, they were drunk, slapping one another here and there. But that was done more in a messing about way, right? Kind of like when Noah asked Brylan to slap him. Why? Just wanted to be slapped. Got slapped, didn't fight back. Kept the promise. But before that, which would have been on a Saturday, it was Shandy, that ended up slapping Noah Presgrove on the Saturday when Noah was wearing those khaki-coloured brownish type shorts, if you remember, the same day as when he was drawn on as well. But in that situation, Noah was slapped but didn't ask for it. The girl just did it outright. No consent, but I guess it wasn't the end of the world because we were just messing about. It wasn't that serious. It wasn't that deep. Though Jack Newton, I think it was Jack Newton by the side of Noah when Shandy was going to slap Noah. And Jack was like, hey, punch me or slap me. I want it. Why do people like begging in order? Please slap me first. Slap me, hit me first. I want it first. I want it. The hell's going on? Is this the Fight Club which was going on? Very amateur, more so. Definitely not a fight club. More like slap box competition, amateur level. But messing about, fueled by alcohol as well. Not taking it that seriously. But then if you're talking about a falling out between Noah and Jack, best friends, getting aggressive, somewhat passionate, maybe. Because when you are close friends with one another, you can always fall out, but you kind of make up afterwards and you're okay with one another. But the times when you may fall out, it could be a bit more intensified because you know one another. And when something does go wrong, you might be more surprised by something going on or behind your back, things like that. As to the exact argument or falling out, whether there's a direct or indirect correlation, I did not write it down, but I'll mention it just now. Whilst at the party, Justin mentioned from what he's been told, from what he's heard of within, is that supposedly there was one story going about early on that after the shower situation, as we heard, that Noah wanted to sleep in one of the girls' bedrooms. It either went one of two ways as for the story. That Avery Combs, being the birthday girl, wanted Noah to sleep with her in the bedroom and Noah refused to do so and called her, I think, a fat bitch or so. They couldn't say that in that interview at the time, but don't worry, uncensored here for most part of it, all under control. Called her a fat bitch. Obviously didn't take too kind to that, supposedly, and it's understandable as you would, because Is Avery Combs a fat beeb? Well, that's not for me to say. Everyone has their own interpretations. If you're on a bit of a larger side, maybe. But to be honest, when it came to Noah Presgrove, even if he did call her that, and that's why he didn't want to sleep with her, supposedly there's been talks in the past that he was with her though back then. So was she not as fat back then and things have changed since and now he's like, ugh, no thanks. Could it be something like that? But when you look at patterns in the background, like when Noah Presgrove was kissing Jasmine Milan on the lips quite passionately, and even Jasmine getting a tattoo afterwards at whatever point that was before or after the death of Noah, that closeness, even though they're just friends, you know, kissing like that on the lips, and Jasmine could be considered on the larger side as well, yet Noah had no issues kissing her, so why did Noah have an issue with Avery Combs then? If it's the size issue, shouldn't really matter. But that's just a story that was told at the time. And I think the other way it was worded was that Noah wanted to sleep in one of the girls' bedrooms, but the other person rejected, turned down the offer. So it was one or the other. Could have been an additional reason, maybe. But like what Justin was saying, based on the original story of Avery Combs being called out by Noah, insulted basically, supposedly Avery Combs chased Noah Presgrove, I don't know how far, out of the house or down the stairs up to a certain point. Now, does that in any way link to Avery Combs and Carter Combs getting into an argument outside on the front porch? Video footage of that supposedly. I don't know personally. Some people could be scratching their heads thinking, what? Avery Combs, Carter Combs having a falling out? What's that all about? It was supposedly mentioned in a Daily Mail article. How much can we trust that? Well, we can always refer back to it if we need to catch up. That was one of the video projects and ideas I wanted to look at again to reflect upon, because I've not really heard it before, right? Unless I glanced over an article, didn't quite see it, but we'll get to that. But if for some reason Avery Combs was insulted by Noah Presgrove, is that what led to Noah's death? It could be one of the components or reasons. Teach him a lesson. How dare he call me this? Can someone else do it? So someone else could have done the dirty work. Avery Combs probably didn't, but could have ordered someone, could have, on that theory. If that wasn't the case and it was more so a Carter Combs situation in which Noah wanted to sleep in her bedroom, but she kind of refused that and Noah got a bit frustrated and got pissed off that way. If Jack found out some way, and with that possible flirting on and off at the party, Jack Newton could have felt jealous by that, already knowing that he is somewhat in the shadow of Noah Presgrove's presence. When Noah shows up, girls orbit around him, kind of, and maybe other people as well in between, because of being popular, strong, athletic, and knowledgeable, a survivor, like the descriptions given by Justin. And, you know, the people in the case, or more so the community on Facebook, have acknowledged that Noah, people were attracted to him all over, left, right, centre. And then you got Jack Newton, the best friend. So it's kind of like you've got a popular person that's announced, smart, intelligent, athletic, boom, 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 and Jack Newton. And then it goes silent. Form of jealousy. But there wouldn't need to be a form of jealousy if Jack is with Carter Combs and Carter Combs wants to be with Jack, and they were supposed to be getting engaged February of 2024 onwards. You could argue more so that Jack wasn't actually in the shadow of Noah Presgrove, he just felt like it. More so a form of insecurity, possibly. And whilst feeling insecure, such as at the party, bit paranoid, senses tense, heightened with the consumption of alcohol, may have heard or seen somehow about Noah flirting about and interacting with Carter Combs' girlfriend, thinking, what are you doing going behind my back? You shouldn't be doing that, excuse me. And then it kicking off through a misunderstanding that way. Hence the intense, very aggressive argument leading to touching and pushing with Jack and Noah. And that's what Justin said. It was very aggressive. Well, I've not heard it like that before. How I've heard it in the past was they had an argument, they had a falling out. It was bad enough for Noah to leave, but not what caused the death, unless something followed after the argument. the grudge following after him, or others doing so, cat and mouse. But to now hear that this argument was aggressive and there was physical contact, you can understand how an argument can lead to a beatdown and an attack. You see it so many times on YouTube, a confrontation, one-on-one, or even a group of people, or a 1 against 5. They confront one another, they have it out, whether they know one another or not, arguing, shouting, growling, and then comes the physical contact. All it takes is the odd touch on the shoulder or a little push, nudge, and it all kicks off, goes nuclear. It can. Would that have happened at this party? Well, when you mix in alcohol, the alcohol could be a partial factor for that increased aggression, but also how you react and how you respond. You know, in real life, I've seen drunk people who've been quite aggressive, volatile, vocally, just the voice, and even for others on the receiving end, physically. It happens. I'm sure you would have seen it yourself. So at a party, alcohol fueled, were any drugs taken for anyone else besides Noah? I don't know. But if there was a case for that, it could really intensify the situation. That's all I'm saying. So I was quite surprised with what Justin said there. So, you know, the more I think about it, this aggressive argument, one thing could have led to another based off that. Would it have been all Jack's doing? I'm not saying that. I think that's a step too far for now. But it doesn't make Jack appear in an innocent way. It makes you think that's the reason why Jack early on was quick to play it down and say, oh, we hugged, we cried, but we're okay in the end. Is that just to save your skin, right? Let me know your thoughts down below. Are you surprised by this very aggressive argument or not? Now, move on to some other questions and points within the interview. The bit about zero traffic, which was mentioned by Jack Newton, as we've seen in that text message with, I think it was with Justin Roy directly? It could have been. At least a bit about passing away at 4 a.m. Justin Roy was obviously the ones who screenshotted out the point of view from him when he had these conversations with Jack early on. But the talk about zero traffic, and if that was the reality, how could it be a hit and run then, considering the likes of Jack Newton was somewhat passionately focused why it was a hit and run up to a point in time. It could still apply now, but of course Stevie Howard being one of the main cheerleaders for supporting a hit and run, even though it was ruled out by police, ruled out by some experts and when they did the autopsy analysis, and yet Stevie is still adamant it was a hit and run. So why would someone who's been told by experts and higher authority that it's not a hit and run, why would someone like Stevie Howard still believe it is? Would that make her delusional? Yes. But there is a chance she could be fully aware that it's not a hit and run, but she's trying to either convince herself or convince others at the same time to make it seem less suspicious towards them as a family or the location, divert attention elsewhere, minimize the actual case and damage done to Noah, right? Criminals and people that get in trouble, when they're caught out, they like to minimize it so they can play it down and maybe treat it more leniently. But it just shows that there's a bit more manipulation behind it in how they put themselves across to try and persuade others that it's not as bad as it seems, but it really is bad. When you think of the injury sustained and the overkill, the damage, the brutality behind it, it's more than a hit and run, right? And there's areas of the body which aren't damaged much, which should have been if it was a hit and run, like how it was mentioned and how Justin mentioned it as well. So zero traffic, yet how could it be a hit and run? They've contradicted themselves. Jack Newton, for example, I guess Stevie Howard in a way, if she did mention the zero traffic thing. But, you know, there's a thing where there may have been zero traffic passing by that mini mart where the cameras and surveillance was. Okay, you can have zero traffic, but you can also have a hit and run, providing it's further on down the road away from surveillance cameras. If that first caller, first truck driver was able to pass by the body, unable to stop because cars were behind him, And if that was going north towards Ryan, for example, and had to turn around afterwards, let's just put it like that, where was that truck coming from? Where were those cars coming from if there was zero traffic? Unless those cameras at the mini mart are dodgy and not reliable, or that after mini mart there are roads, dirt roads, etc., which you can pull out from, away from the cameras, out of sight, blind spots. And as you know, the video that I did yesterday confirmed that. If you are interested in it, be sure to catch up. Where the ice symbol is, there will be a link there to the video last night. But I was able to confirm it, very clear map analysis, under control. So you can have zero traffic up to a certain point, and then further up the road where other roads join on, then you can get traffic. And as long as it's going north and going away and not approaching those cameras, you're good to go. So you can have zero traffic and you can have a hit and run, providing the hit and run is further away from the cameras and there are joining on roads just after the mini mart, but just before the body, right? But is it a hit and run? From the looks of it, not at all. But you can see how it could be interpreted that those contradicted themselves by saying zero traffic and hit and run, but you can have it both ways, just like how I explained myself. So it's not that I'm defending Jack or Stevie Howard, but I'm just being realistic in terms of how it can still apply, even though it might be interpreted as you contradicting yourself. You're not really. There is context behind it. Now, moving on to talk about cameras, surveillance, supposedly high-tech, top-of-the-range cameras. Well, the top of the range, why weren't they working? Because that's the quote that was mentioned by Justin. Was told cameras were not working. That's what Stevie Howard said. But the footage did show trucks or a truck leaving the party house. And that was mentioned by Stevie Howard. And that was to do with the Texas boys supposedly leaving and caught on camera. The post, though, which Stevie Howard announced that, Stevie Howard announcing the camera's not working, but Texas boys caught on camera leaving the party house, the post was deleted from Facebook. It was probably on either Justice or Noah Presgrove's Army in a separate post or a comment section thread response. But why would Stevie Howard need to delete that comment? It only makes it look more suspicious, doesn't it? Would that be considered as contradicting yourself? Pretty much. You say, oh, the cameras aren't working, so we wouldn't have been able to detect anything or use it as evidence. But by the way, they were working when the Texas boys were leaving. Well, that's great. Could you argue and say that maybe the cameras were intermittent, that they don't exactly work always? It was kind of on and off. Well, I don't know if it exactly works like that. If it was that intermittent, surely there would be recorded footage, but there could also be corrupted files and it might not work properly. But yeah, to have high-tech cameras and yet they don't work, how convenient, right? How convenient for certain people out there. But if it did supposedly show Texas boys leave the party house, was that before or after Noah left? Supposedly it would have been after Noah left. So were the cameras only decided to be turned on or decided to work once the job was done? And then it's all back to normal, let the footage roll on in. But it just makes it look more suspicious. And on top, Stevie Howard deleting the post acknowledging it makes it worse. Covering your tracks, posting something which you regret because it could open up the case, I wonder. Does it shine any suspicion on the Texas boys? Just on that point, no. But in terms of the property and Stevie Howard and the cameras, yes. Now, was there any cameras anywhere else? Justin Roy said there were trail cameras nearby because of the land, the property, not far from that dove hunt as well, trail cameras. Trail cameras can pick up a lot as well. Where were they designated? I don't know. Did they pick up any footage of the party? It wasn't mentioned, so there is that. Cameras can be concealed, of course. Sometimes they're not because it's more of a deterrence, right? Oh, the CCTV watching me, I best not get any closer. That was a video project which I was going to do. Look at the property, look at buildings, analyze any camera's CCTV. I can still do that, of course, as a standalone video. But you get the idea of there are bits and bobs that need to be ticked off the list, or at least for me to look at. So points are mentioned here and acknowledged. I can go into it further after. Probably best after the Cade and Pressy interview, I guess. So there is that. Let me know your thoughts behind the camera situation, the surveillance, right? You're in a rural area, in the middle of nowhere, not many people about, away from town. Anything could happen. Trespassers, burglaries, you never know. You do want cameras as a deterrent, but also to document anything if it needs to be used in court or in some kind of police investigation. You need it. And when the time matters and counts, does it stand up? Nope. It supposedly doesn't work. Looking great. Now, besides CCTV cameras and trail cameras, were there any cameras inside the house? Yes or no? Because let's just say there was, and let's just say they were working, that could be used as a replacement instead of the social media recordings and posts from the point of view of the partygoers on their phones, in which some of which were factory resetted or completely deleted. Well, same thing basically. But then again, if people had the aim of factory resetting and deleting stuff, or just about all of the traces from the party, they probably would have done the same with the camera footage as well. The fact that the house wasn't searched, the property, the police wouldn't have known whether there was CCTV surveillance footage, as like what Justin said. Another ball dropped, another missed opportunity, because I don't know how well it works, but let's just say there was an excuse that the cameras weren't working or they were a bit faulty, but they could have recorded something like how Stevie Howard dropped. Slip of the tongue, once again, maybe a bit of truth within it accidentally. But if you was to check the cameras at the time relevant to the time of death, making sure that you didn't do it any later, because the footage could be overwritten with later footage maybe. Or even if it was deleted, doing it early on to be able to try and do a deep dive, a forensic dive into that footage to try and retrieve it. Supposedly police could do that. Would the CCTV footage be stored on a cloud device thing or saved somewhere? A tape of it? I don't know how it quite works, cameras like that, but you might be able to find it somehow, somewhere, if the police actually searched the land, the property, the house, the cameras. They didn't. Wasted opportunity. Could have revealed a lot more had they did so, and if they wanted to, they could be bothered, right? So yeah, the camera situation, I'll do a follow-up video on that. Next one mention, just referring to it, but Justin's nephews and nieces. The nephews and nieces had cousins who were at the party. Okay, connections via connections, but you all know one another. Maybe in a small community and place too. And some of which who were there, the family, were married into Stephanie and Jasmine Milan family somehow. Regardless, there is a closeness to an extent, so you might be able to relate to one another a bit better, and hence why you're actually able to attend the party in the first place, because you know one another, trust one another. So basically, Justin Roy will know a decent amount about this case from simply researching, but also following and checking social media posts as well. But more importantly, family being down there themselves at the party and then relaying it on to Justin onwards or in the future, right? So that kind of clears out there. There's about 7 to 10 family members that were present at the party who are somehow connected to Justin. So Justin would have got a wealth of knowledge there, which is obviously good. So although Justin wasn't at the party, people who he knew of course, were. So that does help. And as long as there's consistency there, that's what matters most, right? And from the ones that were there, the cousins at the party, they saw that Noah was dancing, laughing, having a good time, which is obviously a positive thing, because besides the party footage of what we saw, that video compilation, that could have been used to deceive the general public, to make it seem like he was having a good time, but the deleted footage, it was far from the truth. But in terms, at least up to a certain point, that these cousins who were there, they saw Noah having a good time in general with their own eyes. So that's a positive. But how long for, though? When did it turn upside down? And what wasn't mentioned, though, if it could be answered, when it comes to Justin Roy and his family members and family of family who were down there at the party, How long for? For 4 days, 2 days, 1 day, how long? And if it was for almost 4 days going into Monday morning, at what time did they leave? Would it have been before or after Noah left? I think that's quite important, right? Just for that full story. So there is that. What else is there? Okay, so at 3 in the morning, this is where it gets important, right? Because we're talking about Monday morning. At what point was there a dead spot, a wall of silence? Well, Justin said at 3 a.m. in the morning, Monday, 4th of September 2023, that everything went dead. Social media, coverage online stopped. Videos, footage previously deleted. At 3 in the morning onwards, it went radio silent. That would be room for concern and worry to begin with. Granted, we've heard the timestamp of 3:30, 30 minutes onwards when Noah supposedly left, and just before that, leaving, I guess the argument. 10, 11 minutes later at 3:41, Jasmine Milan doing the Snapchat post, well, I guess Noah's missing. It seems like something went wrong for a level of silence to kick on in, unless it went silent 3 a.m. in the morning individually, unrelated to Noah's death. And the only reason I could make sense of that is, let's say the party is for 4 days long. Would they have continued partying though Monday? Just a quick question to add on to make sense of that. If Noah Presgrove never died, not murdered, nothing happened, nothing bad, would it have been like another Saturday in which, Noah's there, had a falling out, left, went back home, and then what, invited back later on into the day or the evening of Monday? I wonder. Or was it planned that the party would end Monday morning? Because, if you're getting towards the end of the party, things could go quiet. No activity feed online, clearing up, getting ready, deleting things, which is questionable in itself, but if you're breaking social hosting laws, you're drinking when you shouldn't be, you're in possession of firearms as well, you're cleaning up after yourself. And even that's a separate thing, you are cleaning up after some kind of crime. Not a murder situation, but your own individual stuff which you've broken the laws and rules because of alcohol being the main factor. Clean up after yourself. So if anyone could answer the question, the party was 4 days long. So it started from Friday to Monday. Monday would have been the final day of the party. But how late into Monday would the party have ended? Does anyone know? If it was meant to end Monday morning, early hours, because people had to be places, attend work or do whatever, that's probably why things went quiet as for social media, cleaning up after themselves. I know it can be interpreted as well, cleaning up after the death of Noah Presgrove, but if it happens so early on, 3 in the morning, when Caden Pressey was just about to go to sleep but confirmed that Noah was awake and alive at the party, Jack was and everyone else was, the party was still in full swing up to a point, to say 3 in the morning when things went dead. Justin did say in a post on Facebook before this interview that somewhere between 3 in the morning and 3:15, a 15-minute period in which certain social media and phones were clean, wiped, factory reset. The fact that only a couple or so many people did it, the others didn't, makes it a bit weird. Because if they've all done something wrong, such as drinking when they're not supposed to, if they're underage, and maybe even firearms as well, they should be all like, you know what, we've all shouldn't have done this, let's clean up after ourselves. But the smaller the group, amongst many others, makes it seem more personal, individual, and unique from everybody else, as if you've done a little bit more and that's why you need to clean up after yourself. Unless the other people just aren't thinking or can't be bothered, social media, photos, videos, drinking, who cares, who really cares? Unless the smaller selection of people that did cleanse their phones was because there was more to it than just simply drinking underage. There's different ways of looking at it, but you know, you're saying 3 a.m. to 3:15, the party goes dead, social media goes dead, content's deleted, and Noah left at 3:30. So, you know, why would there need to be anything deleted then besides the cleaning up after drinking when there shouldn't be and doing that type of stuff, breaking the hosting laws? I mean, if you killed Noah and you took photos of it, the body, the killing, yeah, you would clean yourself up afterwards and get rid of it. But we would be recording or taking photos in the first place to incriminate themselves. It just seems a bit stupid, doesn't it? And a bit reckless. Or is that because they're reckless enough to kill, so they're also reckless enough to document it as well? I wonder. It's a bit odd, right? You got nothing to hide, you're innocent, and you also care, you know, you care about Noah Presgrove. You say that Noah Presgrove is very loved, like from the perspective of the party goes, then there'd be no need for anyone at the party to be factory resetting anything. Unless, my question being that, let's just say that Noah Presgrove didn't die and he was safe and he made it back home safely, would people have still factory resetted their phones and deleted stuff from social media? Would that still have happened? Because if it did, well then clearly it doesn't link to Noah Presgrove's death, does it? If it didn't though, room for questioning. And I know it's just a scenario, and I know it can never really be answered based off that scenario, but still, I just felt like putting it out there, right? Because could there be a misunderstanding, a coincidence in timing of things going silent for other reasons besides Noah's death? I want to know your thoughts about that. The next thing to mention, talking about the writing on Noah's body, washed most of it off, but still remnants on him when he made it back Sunday evening. Saw writing on his stomach, faint, but still present. The fact that there was no writing at all on Noah's body Monday morning onwards. So yeah, he was written on Saturday, saw it in the footage, wearing the khaki coloured shorts, written on the back, upper bottom area, and the shoulder, in which he washes most of that off, but it's still visible on the stomach Sunday, and it's also noticeable on the shoulder blade area on the back, in which it was it was visible Sunday when Noah was wearing the black shorts, when he was outside of the party house and he was wanting to be slapped by Brylan Sweat, and Isaac was in the background with Avery Combs. The key thing that came out from this Justin Roy interview is that Justin mentioned Isaac's full name. Initials being IR means Isaac Rojas. Rojas. Roja can be like the colour red. Okay? Yeah, Spanish. Whatever. But you get the idea. We get the full name now. Something I was asking for. It's finally been answered. There was a comment though on my channel which mentioned it as well, but the context wasn't very clear, but Justin Roy confirmed it now in the interview, which is obviously good. And as well, clearing up and debunking that mark on Noah's shoulder. It wasn't a burn mark, it wasn't an abrasion, it wasn't caused from the ATV, it was a signature. Did it look like a signature? To me, no. But to other people on my channel, earlier on, they said it was a signature, and it turns out it was. It's only because I didn't see it in the party footage when they were writing on his body, only the lower body. I didn't see them right up top. It would have provided more context, wouldn't it? And made it easier. So that kind of clears that up. Debunking stuff along the way, it's necessary. Why was it not washed off or faded? Maybe because he didn't notice it or he couldn't quite reach it compared to lower body. It might be easier to reach around down below than it is up top. Not for that to be taken out of context, but you get what I'm saying. So besides that, no writing on his body though once he's found on the highway. No writing at all. Truly cleaned down. Well, what I'd say is, if some of the stuff that was faded because of the first wash, the second wash, shower at the actual party house could have been enough to get rid of it completely if there was a bit of scrubbing. If Noah was okay and alive but needed assistance in being washed, there's a chance that those washing him may have used more friction when rubbing him down than if Noah did himself. It's kind of like if you used to massage your body parts with your own hand, you got control of how much tension and pressure you apply. You get someone else to put their hands on you and touch you and squeeze you, they could be a bit too heavy-handed or too light. So it differs, doesn't it? Now, whilst talking about being rubbed down, the friction, it's bloody goosebumps on my arms again. Hate talking about it because it makes me cold. It's just a sensation, that's all it is, but it's annoying. So a second washdown could have got rid of the remnants of what was fading already. But if we're talking about one that was very noticeable and visible, such as on the shoulder blade, should that have been completely washed off? Based off the first lot of writing, which was mostly gone but faint, yet Sunday, that one wasn't, that particular one. If it was washed the second time round and targeted that spot, it should have still been on his body at the highway and it should have been just faded like it was before. That's at least my opinion. But because it was completely gone, there must have been a bit more force behind getting rid of it. Oh, look at that. Goosebumps. Can you see all those dots? So annoying. So we'll leave it there for now because I don't want to keep talking about friction and rubbing, okay? But yeah, you could say there's a little bit of suspicion behind Noah being cleaned, okay? How much tension and friction was used to clean him down? Was there an intent to get rid of any writing on Noah's body because whoever didn't want to be traced back? But at the end of the day, if the writing on Noah's body is a signature of someone from the party, and that person from the party wrote on Noah, and it was even documented in footage a day or two before the death, there would be no need to worry, no need to clean it off, would there? What's happened has happened before the death of Noah. What's more important is what's happened at the time of the death and onwards. That's when you may need to clean up after yourself and worry and panic. Anything that happens before that, which has no direct correlation, it shouldn't matter. Not really. So there's no need for that in a way, but it's still cleaned down. Next point mentioned by Justin, Noah's family, oh yeah, here we go. This is where we get to some of the back-to-back critical key points, so make sure to listen on in. I already mentioned a key critical point earlier on about that very aggressive argument between Jack and Noah. Rewind back if you are joining late to this so you don't miss anything. But this is another critical point that was mentioned by Justin himself when commenting on the other Facebook page, which was Justice for Noah Presgrove, which is the family moderated one. Bit more strict. They try and stick to the facts, but when it's more limited, there's less traffic and activity. Good can come with it, but also with it being limited, slightly negative. But Justin said from what he witnessed and saw that Noah Presgrove's family deleted a lot of information on Facebook. That doesn't sound too good, does it? If we're talking about those within the case and partygoers deleting post, Jasmine Milan deleting a Snapchat post, others factory resetting their phones to cover up after themselves, and supposedly Noah Presgrove's family are like the victims within it, caught up in a way, and yet Noah's family have also deleted post and possible information themselves. That really doesn't sound good. That sounds very, very dodgy. And I'm just saying it how it was worded in that interview by Justin. But the context behind what it was that was deleted may make it a bit more understandable, right? But I've still got some counterpoints. I'll get to that later. But the reason why Noah's family, or part of Noah's family, deleted certain posts is because it was to do with the likes of Caleb Newton. From what Justin said, the likes of Caleb Newton, Stevie Howard, Jack Newton, some of those people that were either on the Justice page or the Presgrove's Army page, They were vocal at first, talkative, cooperated, answered questions. It was fine, it was okay. And then later came the threats, the resistance. The fact, even though I wasn't there, but the fact that there was a behavioural shift within humans is extremely critical within cases, just like how it is within communities. I have seen time and time again from my extensive knowledge and experience within the Dylan Rounds misfit community and beyond, people turning and changing, okay? I've seen the wretched dogs, the disease-ridden humans, how they changed in mentality, showed their true colours, and even remnants linger till this day, okay? Swines, cretins, but nevertheless, they've changed with time. They've revealed their true colours. There was a factor, a catalyst behind that, a turning point. The same can occur within the Noah Presgrove case and community, in which evidence, a witness statement could come on out, which puts others in danger or exposes them to the light. And they're like, shit, right, we better do something. We need to cause misdirection, confusion, or we need to scare people off and push people away. Oh my God. Colton Newton, brother to Jack Newton, tell that person to back off from Stephanie Milan, or say that you're going to go after them, you're going to hunt them down. Oh, Stevie Howard, say to that person that you're next. Not like Goldberg, but you're next. If you carry on. And also even drop some hints along the way, Stevie, saying if we were responsible, we would have done a better job. Just cause more confusion to the mix. The hell's going on? It's not good, is it? But directly to do with Caleb, have we seen threatening behaviour from Caleb Newton? At least to my knowledge, no. Do any of you know? Are any of you aware of Caleb Newton and how he's acted? Does it differ or not? Has it been consistent? I mean, stories haven't, from the looks of it, between Jack and Caleb, but besides that, has there been any threatening behaviour, any defence mechanisms within his brain, his mind, his presence, like the likes of Stevie or even Colton, right? Feel free to leave comments down below if you do know. But as what Justin was saying, early on one of the Facebook pages, which was the Justice for Noah Presgrove, Caleb Newton, who wasn't there at the party supposedly, but still within the case, and the father to Jack Newton said there could have been discussions going on there. Caleb said, or somehow did a post, like a Q&A on Facebook saying, you know, ask me any questions, I can respond back, I can help tell you what I know, what I've heard of, what I've seen, etc. That's very good, right? So what was going on there with Caleb early on was the equivalent of Reddit AMA. Ask me anything, like a subreddit. That can clear the air very quickly, right? To put things in perspective. Justin said that there might have been people along the way which asked Caleb hard-hitting questions, could have been very rude, could have insulted him, but it still happened and Caleb did respond here and there. So that was all good. But the family deleted that. And some other stuff as well, because supposedly misinformation or not entirely true. And whilst, yeah, maybe you want to stick to the facts, isn't it important to document everything along the way? Even if people were to lie, you can compare it in the future to what they say later, because they could slip up, they could trip up and incriminate themselves, contradict themselves, which makes them look more suspicious. You start deleting the misinformation and who said it, you're cleaning up after them. What you're doing is the job as like what they supposedly did, some of which at the party. Factory reset, deleting social media post. It's not good. It doesn't help the case. I know misinformation and disinformation doesn't help a case either, but you can turn negative into a positive. You can't vote when there's nothing to work with if you deleted it, right? So I think that might have been a bit of a, well, I don't want to say it in a harsh way, but kind of a failure, a bit of a downfall from some of the family for deleting potential information like what Justin said. So that's a critical point within the case, especially early on. You know, these critical points, and maybe quite a bit of what I've mentioned today wasn't referenced on that Reddit page, but as I said, everyone has their own perspective and an opinion, and not in a bad way, but selective as to what they hear, listen to and respond to and what they pick up on. What I find important here may not be important to other people, but what they find important may not be important to me. But for most part of it, it tends to be because I'm balanced and I demonstrate multiple perspectives and viewpoints because it needs to be done. Someone needs to do that, so that's why I do it. But, you know, these points may have been brushed aside or forgotten about. That's why I'm talking about them right now. So besides that deleted post, the next thing mentioned that Tyler Hardy, that truck driver claiming to be first on scene, but he wasn't really. And Justin cleared that up with the other truck driver and the first caller having to turn her back around and, you know, Tyler parking up as well. So that's all fine there. To do with truck drivers, references to Caden Pressey interview, we'll get to that, but just not yet, okay? I've seen some comments, but that'll have to wait just for now. But as for the Tyler Hardy situation, what really stood out to me, because it's the first time I'm hearing this, Justin said that Tyler witnessed other things, but they can't be revealed at this moment. What the hell does that mean then? Considering we've heard that dispatch call just recently, okay? Now, it was after this dispatch call came out after this interview. Is there a correlation? I don't know. It makes me think, right? Maybe this would have had a harder hitting tone if I reacted and covered this before that dispatch call. But to take in consideration the dispatch call from Tyler Hardy being the third caller in at 5:53, the first caller being 5:46, another individual. But Tyler Hardy said he saw clothing in the middle of the road, exactly how he worded it. Any other details? No. But there was a second caller in which the dispatcher acknowledged to Tyler. We only heard two of the three. The first caller, the final caller. Second caller, identity, unknown. Location, unknown. Details given, unknown. But they will know, the dispatcher. Will we ever learn about it? See it public? I don't know. But there has to be a reason as to why it's not been revealed. But for them to give more detail, why and how, when the first caller only gave so much and then the final one gave so much? How can the middle one see more when the first and third were very close together in being in the area and passing by in a short space of time? You get what I'm saying? How drastically can it change? I don't know, unless it's just based off what each individual sees. One sees more than the others, and that's why it can't be revealed. But is there a link between this interview of Justin Roy 7 days ago or so, in which he said Tyler witnessed other things, but they can't be revealed just yet? Can't be revealed yet, just yet. Witnessed other things. What did Tyler Hardy witness when there, which can't be revealed? Or has it now, days later, days on, with that dispatcher call? Even if that dispatcher call, what was revealed there is basically what Justin was referring to with Tyler, it wouldn't explain everything. Because yeah, hearing about clothes in the middle of the road, Noah's shorts, is the first time I've ever heard that before. And I'm sure for you as well. So it's a bit of a shock. It's weird, right? Whilst, yeah, okay, Caden saw one thing, true, from the looks of it. And then the driver saw another thing, true. Tampering in between, okay. But the tampering in between was worded as the shorts folded up nearby. And then later, the shorts ended up in the middle of the road. That bit doesn't make sense. That's odd. If there's already been tampering and a clean-up job, and then they've gone or disappeared out of sight, and then the shorts have then later walked across the road, that is weird and dodgy. And as well, language and wording being specific. For Justin to say that Tyler witnessed other things with an S, that's more than one thing that he witnessed. So if he said the shorts are the thing that was also witnessed in the middle of the road, but to say things with an S, it would be more than shorts. So what else did Tyler see? How important is it for it to not be revealed just yet? Anyone elaborate? It might even crop up in Caden's interview when I get round to it. I'll have to see with time. Justin as well confirmed that Noah's shorts were removed, after the party, so basically when Noah died. And the next point mentioned, the dove hunt. This is another critical point. We actually looked at it from the Reddit page and that post, credit to them at the time. You would have seen that. The dove hunt, which wasn't hosted or created by Avery Combs, but Avery Combs did repost and reshare advertising it about how got to be of a certain age, and if not, bring parents or so with you. No drinking. And I just thought it's interesting how Avery Combs approves of that, the rules. No drinking while shooting, but by the way, you can hop on by the party house later for some drinks, even if you're underage. Don't worry, come along. Just seems a bit drastic, the change, the contrast. Who runs the dove hunt? I can't remember the names. Was it Stevie Howard? Was it Bub Wilcoxon? I don't want to be confident there in my recall ability, but there'll be some names that pop up and I'm sure you will know yourself, but I could be wrong there. I can't fully remember who it's hosted or who runs it exactly, but there might be some names of interest, right? Is the dove hunt a direct correlation to the party? Not exactly. It started Friday, ended on a Saturday, but went on through. I argued and said possibility that some of the people that attended the dove hunt on the way back came to the party, hence why they had their firearms with them. It would make perfect sense. But Justin said in the interview that when he was questioning about the dove hunt to work it out, to understand who went to the party and in which order, that there was threatening behaviour for simply asking a question, deflection, changing the subject. Who was causing that trouble? I don't know, but when Justin was trying to figure out and ask questions about the dove hunt, does it link to the party? Who at the party went to the dove hunt? Threatening behaviour, threats. What is it about bloody threats? So with the threats, the deflection, and not admitting who actually went, it's stupid. If you claim to be innocent and the dove hunt is innocent and it has absolutely no link to Noah Presgrove, then there'd be no reason to hide who went and who didn't. There'd be no reason to threaten people for asking a bloody simple question. I'll mention one thing that's a bit different. When I was covering the Jay Slater case recently, there was a female online, maybe from the UK, had a bit of a stiff-looking face, like a door, and how they responded when I asked them a question, they said, "Huh? Did I say that? I don't think so. Who do you think you are? Pipe down." Pipe down! I've got 13,000 subscribers, over 5 million views, appeared in a Paramount Plus documentary. Bitch, what have you done? Fuck all. How much contribution have you done? Piss all. Get along. Simmer down. Right? I didn't actually say that, but that's what was going on in my head. Don't tell me to pipe down when I'm the channel owner. Yeah, I could outright block or silence them. I'm not going to do so. They demonstrate a form of idiocracy, impetuous, egocentric behaviour. It needs to be witnessed and documented by the general public, so it remained up. I just responded at the time saying, no need to get defensive. I'm asking a simple question based on a scenario. But you get the idea. From time to time, when you ask a question and you may want an answer and you approach them correctly, appropriate, you're not rude, you're polite, you're patient, there is absolutely no reason for the other person to act defensive unless they truly misunderstand, they've got a limited capacity mindset mentally, or that they're hiding something. Now, the person I came across was called awakened one, more like delusional one, right? But that aside, on a more serious note, within this case particularly with Noah Presgrove, several instances of asking questions and directly or indirectly on behalf of others like Colton, threatening those for asking questions. How pathetic is that when people claim to be so innocent within the case? No need for threats. And as well, if you were responsible, the smartest thing to do is not raise any eyebrows or any attention. So by threatening others or being awkward and causing deflection or minimization, you're making yourself look worse than what you supposedly are. You're not doing yourself any favours. Yeah, these humans do that. Justin Roy's witnessed it himself. So, whilst the dove hunt may not link, the fact that identities can't be revealed as to who went, that makes it more suspicious and links more to the case. No harm, right? Could you argue and say that maybe identities weren't revealed because those that attended the dove hunt were underage, or that they were drinking at the dove hunt, or they drank at the party, then went on to the dove hunt or something, so that, can't reveal that or they'll get in trouble? That's the only exception, the only way of looking at it, which could be the same reasoning behind why certain phones and social media was deleted afterwards, because it showed them drinking and doing stuff not supposed to do. And on top with the dove hunt, doing stuff what they're not supposed to do, breaking rules, could get in serious trouble, could be banned from dove hunting in the future. That's the only exception I can think of. Maybe I'm being very generous in my perspectives, but, got to at times. So there was that. As for the dove hunt, it was within 1 mile of the party house. Not that far away. Would you have heard gunshots within a 1 mile distance? Probably. Sound can travel, especially when it's flat and open. Noah wasn't shot at all, so there's no links with the dove hunt and shooting, but a rifle and the butt stock of it, the bottom of it could have been used, possibly. But just in terms of the dove hunt, the access to it, how far away it is, not that far. So people could easily go from dove hunt to party, or party to dove hunt within time on the Saturday, right? Oops, drop the notes. The next thing that was mentioned was to do, just referenced by Justin, about the Texas boys. Oh, we've heard about them, as the interviewers say, but do we know much more about them? There was like 3 groups of Texas boys. Some people on my channel mentioned that as well recently. You had the Saint Jose, or Saint Jose, the Nacona, and the Berry Bowie Texas boys. 3 different sets where they come from within Texas. There was a name called Pepe, Juan. I don't know, probably sound like typical Mexican names, to be honest. But it's not even Mexican. Well, it is Mexican, isn't it? But we're talking about Texas. But Texas, Mexican, crossovers, whatever. Okay, I'm not saying there's maracas or tambourines or anything. Fuck that. But the importance behind the Texas boys is, have they come forwards? Not from the looks of it, have they? Not been interviewed. In terms of their real names and identities, not exactly cleared up. It's murky, it's not clear. That's a problem. So many people at the party, not enough identified clearly or cleared in their names. That's unfortunate. It's a shortcoming there. A few more points mentioned by Justin, that with his family members that were present at the party, those family members saw alarming things. At the party? What was so alarming, though? Is it stuff that's already been mentioned or not? What would you consider alarming? Being slapped? Punching things? Running into polystyrene or wood, whatever? Flipping over an ATV? Would that be considered alarming behaviour, or just reckless? If that's not considered alarming, then what the hell is? And has it been revealed or not? How bad did it really get? Is that supposed alarming stuff which the family members witnessed some of the stuff that was deleted from the social media and Snapchat post? I wonder. So yeah. Next one. Noah being in the fetal position. This was mentioned by the woman who was part of the YouTube channel, the wife to that guy, I think. That's the relationship. But she said that because of the position of Noah, fetal position, which could have been a recovery position as well, possibly, but more so was there a feeling of guiltiness, some kind of emotional connection. So whoever may have been directly responsible or played a role ended up feeling sorry for Noah and decided to lay him by the side, change his position of the body. That's why they didn't put a blanket over him or something, even though he's not alive, make sure they're at peace, rest. Were the eyes closed or not? That's my question. When Noah's body was found, was his eyes open or was his eyelids shut? Because sometimes when people do pass away, the eyes are still open. Someone comes along and then does that out of respect to close the eyes, I guess, to signify that they're at peace. Would anyone have done that? Who knows? So, the previous talk within the case was like a crime of passion. Do you think there was a level of passion within this case? You could say the overall theme of passion runs through and through in many different ways, even in the past. The passion between Noah Presgrove and Jasmine Millan with that kiss. The passion as claimed by Jack Newton after that argument with Noah, where they were hugging and crying in each other's arms. Certain flirting at the party and any other dodgy activities going on. Passion there too. So it can come in different shapes and sizes, but does it follow through with the death as well? Passionate, over-passionate, to the point where you're a bit jealous, you don't see things clearly. Yeah, because sometimes you can be passionate about something, but in an unhealthy way, and that can have its own problems. So, yeah. Next thing, what was mentioned, which Justin said with confidence, that Noah passed away, died because of the party. The beginning of it all. Okay. I mean, based off that, it's a strong thing to say, but, you know, with the distribution of alcohol and how things led to the death, yeah. And the people that were there that may have been responsible, yeah. The only question I would have is, what about in the past? Before this party in particular, which directly or indirectly led to the death of Noah Presgrove, how many parties have they had in the past? For how many years? And for how many years of those parties did it include alcohol and underage drinking? And on that basis, if that's the case, how come nothing bad happened back then? And in general, in terms of the area, how many parties have correlated to a bad outcome, the death of someone? We can talk about crime out there or missing people cases, shady area, dangerous place, but out of all the parties that go on in the area, is there a pattern or correlation ratio to a set number of parties and a set number of deaths or people going missing who attended the party and then left afterwards? Is there a link, correlation? Is there history behind that? Or is this a one-off? Let me know down below. One thing that was mentioned by Justin from hearing about it was that despite what happened over that weekend, that 4-day party session, the following weekend, the next weekend, they had another party at that house. It's as if they'd just forgotten, oh well, let's just have another party. Same place where Noah was last at. Not everyone would be able to do that or have another party straight away. Most people should be upset, concerned, and, you know, not in the mood, low mood, especially only after a few days or a week passing by. It's too soon, especially to be partying. Were they partying as a form of defense mechanism to drown out the sadness, to distract themselves? In some ways, that can happen, yeah. To have a party just makes it look more suspicious, like they don't care. But to be honest, this is no different to the Riley Strain case, Tennessee, where Riley Strain, you know, partying with the fraternity brothers, got drunk, on the way back, somehow died. No one went after him. Nobody reported him to the police until 8 hours afterwards. Like, the fraternity brothers didn't even bother searching for Riley Strain. They actually went on to the party, whilst the parents the following day came on down to search for Riley and also check the hospitals. And when they made it back to wherever, they saw the fraternity brothers pass by smiling and waving like, oh, just like a few hours before or a day before, you know, your best friend has gone missing and you're too busy partying. Says a lot, doesn't it, about people? But when you look at this situation, the actual death of someone, enough time for it to sink in and to hit people, whether they're involved or not, to then think, oh, we'll just have another party. My question is, whilst it's suspicious that they had another party after the next weekend, there are unanswered questions regarding that then, right? At that next following party, how many people went? Who went? Did Jack Newton? Did Isaac? Did Brylan? Did Caden? Avery Combs, Carter Combs, Jasmine Millan, Stephanie Millan? Any of them? I don't know, you can leave it down below if you do know. And the final point that was mentioned, which stood out to me by Justin, was at the party, the one where Noah was attending, you know, the Labour Day one, and just before that, He says, I believe adults were at the party or nearby in some of the buildings, and they could have switched interchanged from building to building. Could that reinforce the likes of Caleb Newton being present? Who knows? Could that highlight any of the other older looking males that may have been there in some of the party footage? You never know. Does that link in with that fat cowboy riding Avery Combs on her back? I don't know. You can let me know your thoughts, in the comment section. There might be some areas which are a little bit grey, may need reinforcing with more evidence or witness statements of some sort, but that may come with time, and I know enough time has passed by now that questions should have been answered, but it is what it is. But in terms of the notes, you get an idea, just bullet points. Most of it is coming from in here when elaborating and comparing, contrasting. Was it of value looking at it? Yeah, I would say so. It kind of links in with some of the stuff I already knew or certain theories that I had, and that's good. It can reinforce it. Theories reinforced by certain facts. Consistency helps validate it. That's what's needed more in this case. Has it been met yet? No, but could be heading in the right direction possibly from now. Will there be another interview with Justin? I don't know, but it was it was good just to catch up right now where I'm at and also make notes of the video projects that need to be done. Caden Pressey, well, if it's harder hitting, more impactful, I might need a few more sheets of paper and not just one sheet, but plenty. I'll get to that tomorrow, work on it, listen in, and see what I can find from it, because I might see things differently to how other people do, and vice versa, and it can help in different ways. So I appreciate your patience. It seems like not as many people saw the video last night, which is kind of disappointing, but if people weren't notified, that would make sense. So be sure to catch up on last night's video where the eye symbol is, link there. Leave your comments down below. Feel free to like and share this video from a different perspective and onwards so more people hear about it. And of course, credit to Justin Roy, credit to True Crime Partners in True Crime, whichever way around it is. And yeah, so we'll leave it there for now. See what happens next. Goodbye. Good night.